viewers, welcome to Picture It. My name is Sibs Jolie. I am your host. I am excited to talk to you today, and on this very exciting day, I would like to remind you that your dreams can become a reality. Why I say that? Because when I was a child, I dreamed of becoming a businesswoman, but surprisingly, no one in my locality could understand that. I remember that when I was asked to share about what I wanted to be when I grew up, I said I wanted to be someone who manages businesses, but I did not know the actual term, and I was often teased because of that. Anyway, I had to settle for saying I want to be a shopkeeper. But that dream, that inspiration was coming from my mother. Having watched her do family businesses, that inspired me to say, when I grow up, I want to become something. You know, when we listen to our role models from across the globe, we understand that when they speak about their stories, they relate with people within their society. But what does it take for us to profile the stories of our own unsung Zimbabwean heroes and heroines? Please join me to welcome Lisa. Lisa is a philanthropist, and I have Walter. Please welcome them on Picture It. Welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you, and I'm very excited because I am going to hear more about you. I've watched your work, and I know that you're very passionate about philanthropy. Mm-hmm. But before we get more into that, I would like to know briefly about who you are.
I hate that question. So I am a young Zimbabwean woman. Mm-hmm. I am a Christian. I am a pastor's child. I am a recently ordained minister. Mm-hmm. That's a huge deal in my life. And I guess, like you said, I'm very passionate about philanthropy, like helping to change people's lives. Philanthropy is a very big term. I thrive on just helping meet the needs of people that are around me.
Wow, that's such a deep call. You know, devoting all your resources to lift up the lives of other people. Mm-hmm. God bless you for that.
Thank you, I am blessed. Thank you.
And on my left, we have Walter. Walter, please tell us briefly about yourself.
My name is Walter. Mm-hmm. I'm a musician. I'm a creative. I'm a businessman. Mm-hmm. I run a few businesses, but mostly they work around creatives, working around musicians and IT. Mm-hmm. It's basically me. I'm not a pastor's child, and I'm not a minister. No.
You know, it's very interesting to hear that the titles that you're giving yourselves now, you know, philanthropist and, you know, musician, creative, those are not the, you know, normal careers that we were looking to becoming. Did you always want to be a philanthropist at all?
First of all, haven't given myself that title. I think it's a very big title. Mm-hmm. But I definitely am someone that does a lot of social work. Mm-hmm. I would rather call myself a social worker. Okay. I think it suits me better. Did I always want to do that? I always saw the need, and I always met that need. Like from the time I was young, my dad had like a chain of butcheries and whatnot, so we'd always be in the CBD, down in Granite Side, and I'd always see kids like coming to the window as we drive by, and I'd always be looking for something to do. Mm-hmm. And so my earliest project was actually in my gap year. Soon after I finished my A-levels, we decided to run a soup kitchen in the CBD because I was just so like affected seeing people that are my age and younger just begging in the streets. Mm-hmm. So we ran that for like, that was about 2007 through to about 2012. Mm-hmm. And then we changed strategy and, you know, I started the education fund and so on. So I always knew that I had to do it. In terms of what I wanted to do, I mean, yeah, it's changed. I'm one of those people who wanted to be a business person. I thought about TV and media like you know, and I'm still evolving in terms of who I want to become as a person. But I'm very clear on what my call and my purpose is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And yourself, saying a creative.
Music is something that I kind of stumbled upon. I was invited to come to church. Actually, I met Lisa
Really?
from church, even though I'm not a minister. But yeah, when I was 13, I was invited to come to church by a lady that my mother used to work for. My mother was a maid for this family. They used to live actually down the road from here. So they invited me to come to church with them, and it was Rhema at the time, what is now called Celebration Church. So I went along with them to a conference that they had, and I walked in there and I liked the music, and I fell in love with the music. I didn't care much about the preachers and what they were, talking about.
Yeah.
But I liked the music. Yeah, I was young, so it stuck to me, and I now run a company called Ngomano Show, which is basically a music promotions company. We work with musicians, we do management, we do events and things like that. And the reason why I called it Ngomano Show was because initially the church I used to go to was Methodist, and the music that we had was just Ngoma Neo Show and vocals. So that's what I knew as what you could do or what you were allowed, if you want to put it that way, in that kind of church. But it stuck to me. It was my roots and it was my foundation. Then I eventually started playing guitar in the church, and I played there for quite a bit with the celebration choir, and toured, recorded, did the whole thing. But now I'm not actively playing anymore, but I manage artists. So I was managing Victor Kunonga, managed Brian Kay, work with bands like Mukumba with my partner Marcus Gora. Yes, I was managing Dr. Oliver Mutukudzi up until his passing. So worked with Huma Sekela, worked with a lot of artists in Africa, and so it's not really, music and creativity it's not one of those things that you're taught in school that, okay, do this so that you become a musician, or do this so that you become a creative. It's something that, you have to chase, or if you're lucky enough to be exposed to it, then you follow it,
Would you like to take us back into your journey?
Which part of the journey? Basically when I started playing in the church, all I wanted to do in life was play music. All I wanted to do was to be a musician. I wanted to be on stage, I wanted to perform, I wanted to write, I wanted to compose. But because of what was happening at the time, obviously my mother couldn't continue to finance, the money that I needed to just get from home to the church. So she said I need to get a job. So that pays, because we were not paid to be performing at church or playing at church. So I had to get a job, and I got a job from somebody who was in the church, and it just happened to be an IT-related job. I started working for him so that I could just, be able to perform and to be able to do my music. So it wasn't a job for me to say, okay, I need sustenance. It was so that I can just get enough money to get to church afterwards, and be able to do music. So I started working, and I started working with Epson printers and things like that, and I started working with Apple. Long story short, today I have a business that specializes in Apple products. So I became an Apple certified technician, and I've been working with Apple since I was 20. So it's been 20 years.
Oh my goodness.
It's been 20 years.
How old Apple has been?
No, Apple's been around for a long time. So I've been working with Apple for the past 20 years. And so that's the other business that I run, and advertising and big digital screens and things like that. So and obviously the music.
Oh, nice. I like the part when you say that I had to go and learn, not because of sustenance, but how feasible was it for you, especially when you also had living expenses, or were you still staying with your parents?
I was still staying with my mother up until I was like 18. I had to move out when I was 18 to stay on my own. But she basically financed everything, even when I left on a maid's salary, which was incredible. She's like super woman, and she had 4 kids to look after, and I was number 3. And I think she did a pretty good job with us. We all turned out quite quite all right. Yeah, so it was tough, but I think I was more driven to achieve certain things. Money wasn't a factor. Money wasn't something that even now, I don't say, okay, I want to do this so that I can make this much money. I look at money as a good tool. Money is a very good tool. It's nice to have, but it's not the goal. It's a very good way of keeping score. So it's not something that I look at and say, okay, is this financially beneficial for me? But I will look at it and say, okay, does it make us happy? Are we not making a loss or whatever? But as long as we do what we need to achieve, then yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still talking about money, Lisa, you literally fork out money to give to other people, whereas the general maybe way people live is that they want to gather for themselves. When you talk about dreams, people want to gather and make as much money as they can. So in your perspective, what do you think really has to be the driving force behind us pursuing our dreams?
I would say something that my dad always used to say, which is that you need to aim for not only success. Success is me, myself, my wife, my children, my car, my house, my houses, my holidays, and all the other things that we want in life. I mean, everyone is entitled to have those plans and those goals, but he would talk about aiming for significance, which is when your life begins to matter not just to the people around you, but to the larger community of people around you. Impact your neighborhood, impact your city, impact your nation, and change the world. That's when life becomes truly meaningful, because otherwise you look at all those typical stereotypes of people that have everything in terms of money, but don't sleep, don't have any joy, can't maintain relationships, come from broken families or mess up every relationship they enter into. It's because sometimes if you're just focused on success and having and getting, it becomes very empty very quickly. And so I found that, I guess, kind of like Walter, never really been concerned, not because of what I was passionate about, but because I was lucky enough to be raised in an environment where I didn't have to be concerned about money. And as I'm getting older, I'm obviously more conscious of that. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to start making a plan for myself, which I have. And I've been lucky enough to have, what's the word? Is it green fingers or whatever? What is the word? Like golden fingers, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
The little things that I attempt to do, like in terms of business, I've actually been able to establish with a lot of ease. Must just be the grace of God.
Okay.
Where like the side businesses that I run and that I don't often talk about or whatever are actually doing quite well. And I've been able to start saving and doing all the things that people my age should be doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is still Picture It. I'm Sibs Jolie and I am with Lisa and Walter. We're talking about our journeys. Do stay tuned. We'll come back after these short messages. Welcome back. This is Picture It with Sibs Jolie. Today I am with Lisa and Walter. I want to find out from you, Lisa, faced with the current limitations in Zimbabwe, how are you coping?
I'm alive and I'm well, and surprisingly still optimistic. But I think I've definitely learned a lot. I think I've been through more than one of the Zimbabwean roller coaster cycles. So I must say, it being the second time I'm experiencing, the first time was in high school. You're still, a child and still sheltered, so to speak. Second time was, 2013, 2014, was that the period? That was tough, and then we got through it. So this time, I must say that I was very overwhelmed to begin with, and I'd drive past petrol queues those first few days, and my heart would literally start beating, because I was just feeling like, oh God, is this what we're going back to? And I was very affected. But I must say that, number one, I strongly believe in the peace of God the peace that the Bible talks about, which surpasses all understanding. I had to like beg for that, like, please, Lord, I just need peace. I need to be able to manage and continue to think clearly and continue to just see things the way you intend me to see them, as opposed to just, looking at my current situation. I feel like when you are overwhelmed, you narrow your vision. And so the first thing I think I learned was to quickly not focus on the micro and continue to just focus on the macro, like the bigger picture. What are my goals? How has what has happened affected them? What impact has it had? And so how can I maneuver? I think learning to think out of the box and learning to be creative and flexible and highly adaptive is something that everybody needs to be able to do in the current situation. It speaks also to your personal psyche, the mindset that you maintain. Like, affirmations are everything. They're not just done by Christians, even when you just read general secular books and advice. It's really important to affirm yourself, to remind yourself of what you're doing, who you are, the strengths that you have, and where you're going. Because that's, that directs the energy, as some people say, that you give off. And it also, the Bible even says, as a man thinketh, so is he. The things that you continue to think about is what you become. So you gravitate towards the vibe that you create. Yeah.
The things that you think about is what you become. That's a very strong statement there. Walter, faced with the current situation in Zimbabwe, how are you managing to lead artists and to motivate them to pursue their dreams?
It's tough. It's really tough. But I guess I agree with Lisa on many levels. It's about your mindset and how you're looking at things, what you're thinking about, what you're taking in daily, and that kind of thing. And I think from 2008 up until now, we have a whole lot more information that's fed to us. We now have social media. If anything happens in Gweru, you know about it instantly. If anything happens in Bulawayo, you know about it instantly. And I think it's very key, especially when you look at social media, because usually a lot of people's perceptions about what they're going to do in business, a lot of people's temperaments are actually guided by them waking up in the morning and going on Facebook and reading a few comments, scrolling through, and then that ultimately guides your day. And I think it's important that people manage their timelines and keep them clean. For me, it's super important because I'm always on social media. I'm very active. So I make sure that what I see on my timeline is good and it's positive. As much as there is a lot of negative out there, I don't want to run away from reality, but I'm also wanting to have people that are speaking into my life in a positive way. So I make sure that all the time my social media timelines are clean, so that's one way. Another way is obviously just keeping positive people around me, people that can tell me the truth when I'm not being, when I myself am a problem. And people that are not, do you know what I mean? Because most of the times you're always quick to point and say, so-and-so did this and so-and-so did that, and government did this and this minister did that. And, that president from Zambia is why we're doing this and whatever. It's easy to point out what other people are doing, but you never look at yourself and say, okay, what is my contribution to this? Because say for my business, for instance, if my business shuts down today, is it because of the current situation in Zimbabwe, or is it because of mismanagement by me? So if we take my business and we put it into Switzerland, can my business thrive there with me in it and with me leading and with the same people that I'm working with? If it can't thrive in a place where you can say everything is as it should be, then why should it thrive in Zimbabwe as well? So sometimes, yes, there's involvement about from different things that are around us, the economy, other businesses and things like that. But sometimes also we also have a role to play, and we also have our contributions. But most of the times I find in Zimbabwe, none of us are looking at ourselves and saying, okay, how much of this is my contribution before you look at someone else to blame. And fix yourself, and then make sure that you have done what you can do in your own area and you stay in your lane. And then if it fails, then you know what, you've tried everything that you can in your power. And then everything else didn't work out, not because of you not doing what you can, but because it's other factors. So there's nothing left to chance. So I think it's really, really important to just be able to look at yourself and be honest with yourself, and have people around you that are also honest with yourself. Because as you climb that ladder, you have less and less people that tell you the truth. That's because true. Now, because you're a CEO or because you're a big person or you're rich or you're whatever, less and less people tell you the truth. You know, and less people just tell you, I'm Dara, boss, you know what I mean? So it's very key to have at least 2, 3, 4 people that are not afraid to tell you, good, no, Walter, I think here you messed up, and here you need to do this, and here and you also listen to those people. So I think that's really key, having the right people around you and having the right information that's coming to you. For me, that's ultimate.
Yeah.
You know, Zimbabwe, we are very famous for passing fads. There are those stories that people talk about during that time, and everyone seems to be, you know, so anxious because there's some breaking news that we're chasing. But then those things tend to be passing fades, and then they move out of the way. And then you still need to come back and gather yourself, you know, and then you have to gather your thoughts and say, no, this is gone. You know, if you look at our economy, there was a time where there's chaWalter as a business idea, you know, and everyone was running to it.
Yeah.
And then even in our jokes and things like that, we always have those, passing fades. But how can people actually harness those passing fades and create businesses for themselves and actually have lasting impressions because of that? Because I've noticed there's a tendency to flock into one idea.
It's tricky. I think sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Tell us, please.
I think it's when you're not sure where you're going, or you're not sure what direction you're headed to, you can easily be, anything can deter you. I think if you look at I'm not saying I've done it well, but what I'm involved with is music and IT. So it's either one of the two. That's what I know, and those are my 2 lanes, you know. And Pakanzi chaWalter, if I wasn't sure about my creative business, or if I wasn't sure about my IT business, I could have quickly become a farmer. You know, I could have quickly, started doing that. I could be trading in fuel today, or something like that. But I think it's really important to be able to stay in your lane and know that this is what you're supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with you diversifying and having multiple streams of income. But I would say if I was to diversify and go into media, for instance, I wouldn't do that without a partner that understands media. So I wouldn't say go and do chaWalter by yourself, and you don't know what it's, what it entails, and what kills the birds, and where do you sell them, and how you're gonna grow the business. I would say partner with somebody that knows that line of work, and you're an investor, and you're coming in and you're seeing an opportunity, and you say, okay, this is an opportunity that's there. It may be for a period, but let me put in my $50 into this, and I have somebody with me that knows this business, and that person may not have the money, maybe you have the money, and that person, maybe you are the one with the idea, and then you find somebody else who has the money. And I think it's really key that we learn to collaborate. And a lot of people try and run races by themselves and say, good, I can do this by myself because I'm the one with the idea. We need to get away from chinhu chaWalter. Or syndrome. If I die tomorrow, it dies with me, and I don't teach other people, or I don't work with other people. Collaboration is key. So as much as we can have things that come and go, I think if you collaborate in that particular phase with somebody that knows something, you could ultimately do something that makes sense.
Wow, I am completely stunned, Walter. I shall not comment further. Lisa, would you like to come in?
I agree with Walter on every level. I definitely think synergizing and collaborating is key to succeeding in anything that you do, not just business. And so the mentality of, number one, just copying people should be dealt with. Don't be the person that does it just because the next person is doing it. And then if you do make a decision to do it, then I think, like Walter said, he gave all the advice. Find the right people, create the right teams, and find the most effective and efficient and profitable way to operate. Also know when to cut your losses. I don't think there's anything wrong with exploring, but you should have very specific ways of measuring your progress and your success and knowing when something is working and when it isn't.
Wow. There you have it, viewers. We are coming to a close of our program. Deep words, deep wisdom coming from Walter and Lisa. But before we close, I'm going to ask them to please come in with their closing remarks.
All right. First of all, thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure. I would say for anybody that is keen on getting into business or to be an entrepreneur, you know, it's super important. Like for me, I made sure that I learned a lot, and learning doesn't necessarily mean go to university. It means that, you know, find yourself working under people that are doing what you love. Find people that are doing what you're interested in, and offer to work there with that goal in mind to learn from them. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think I worked for someone else for 8 years in the IT industry, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. I think it was business school that I couldn't afford, but I will do it again because of the knowledge that I got from that. And again, I will reiterate on collaborations. It's important that we started working together as Zimbabweans, as young Zimbabweans. It's key, you know, find each other's strength. You know, there's no one person that has got all the attributes to make it happen. Yes, there are a few individuals that are like that are superhuman, but if you're not, a great team is really, really key. Find the right people that, you know, fill up those gaps where you're weak. Someone else is strong, you know. So yeah, find the right people to work with, and then let's do our best and let's build Zimbabwe.
Let's build Zimbabwe. Lisa.
I'm also really happy to have had the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you so much. And I think what I would say is just how important it is to start finding a way to give back, a way to impact people in everything that you're doing. You don't have to wait until you have $1,000 or can buy, you know, sponsor 500 kids. Just start with your, you know, community. Start in your family. Find out who can't afford school fees and start supporting them. You know, in your neighborhood, look out to, you know, discover what areas you can be of help in and build up from there. Also, partner with existing causes. A lot of people want to have their own charity, their own foundation in their own name and whatever. A lot of the work that I do and that the projects that I've started, I've done in partnership with existing organizations, because that way anything you're doing is more sustainable and the impact you have lasts longer and makes a bigger difference wherever it is that you're trying to bring a change. So look for causes to support. You don't necessarily have to be the one running it, but find one that's transparent, that's reliable, that has, you know, stood the test of time, or even if it's starting out, just has the same values and passions that you have, and then plug into that and start making a difference in somebody's life. And if you run a business, you have no excuse. You should be giving back. Corporate social responsibility is what's going to actually change you know, all these issues of poverty. And, you know, the statistics can be so scary, but when you think about it, 2 million children out of school, get 1,000 companies, each sponsoring like 100 kids. You solve that problem.
Yes.
You understand? So if we start to think like that, from corporate level to family level to individual level, then I think we start to see a greater change around us.
It has been a pleasure having you, Lisa and Walter. There would be no Picture It without you. So I'm the most excited person right now to have you on the program. And I do believe that the viewers that are watching at home are so happy to have been inspired by you. So we hope to meet again next time. Thank you very much for watching. I am Sibs Jolie, your host. See you soon. Stay well.